So it provides that the wages of employees may also be paid by check or maybe cash or through digital or electronic mode. Of course, electronic digital mode or maybe directly by giving bank credit. That is what is encouraged, right? I think that is the amazing development because of technology. Even in our cases, in fact, we would have definitely experienced. But if somebody asked me, when did you last see the physical cash currency? No, it's quite some time, right? But your transaction is still happening, but I've not seen the currency at all physically, right? But that is how. So things will continue to happen. Things will continue to happen, but leveraging on the technology, right? So this is what the entire process is getting simplified. That is the again idea. Then instead of mere inspector, they will now be called as inspector cum facilitators. Again, the idea is they may have to facilitate the employers, the industries, and the workers as well in the first place, right? Then I think they may have to still, if the industries are not following, then they may have to go for some penal action. So the idea is that, right, again, to remove arbitrariness and malpractices in inspection. This thing is, so role of inspector is now getting changed. That is the idea. Then it empowers the appropriate government to determine the ceiling of wage limit for the purpose of eligibility. So currently we all know, for a person to become eligible for payment of bonus, the salary ceiling salary is 21,000. If a person's monthly salary goes beyond 21,000, then that person is not entitled for payment of bonus, right? It is common again. It is there under this. It is a central legislation. It is common across India for all industries. Similarly, for calculation purposes, we can restrict the calculation to 7,000 or minimum rates of wages, whichever is higher. That is how it is, right? But now that is also fixed, 7,000 or minimum rates of wages, whichever is higher. That is also fixed by the central government currently, right? But now I think through the courts, the powers are given to the state governments. So it is not just going to be mere 21,000 across the industries or 7,000 for calculation again across the industries. So the appropriate government has to come up with notification. So there is a possibility it could vary from one state to another state. Then of course it provides for graded penalty, right? Which means first time there will be a kind of leniency, but if the same offense is done by the companies for the second time, then I think this could go up. The quantum of punishment could go up. So it will be a kind of graded penalty now. And of course, we discussed it provides for compounding of those offenses, right? It is possible where imprisonment is not prescribed as a punishment. Only fine is prescribed. Compounding of offenses is possible under both code on wages as well as occupational safety code. And more importantly, again, the burden of proof that will lie with the employer, right? Even if the dispute is raised by the individual, now it says through the courts, I think that the burden will lie with the employer to prove. And of course, the limitation period for making the claim, it is enhanced to 3 years, right? Currently, it varies from 6 months to 2 years for various claims, but now it is getting increased to 3 years. I think that this could support or this could favor the workers. Now, I think we have come to the end of the salient features. I think the salient features, we are very clear. I think that would clearly give a summary of what code on wages is all about. But now we are getting into some specifics, right? Again, I would say it will not be possible to discuss all the provisions of the codes. Number one, within the allotted time, right? And number two, it will not be possible to discuss all the changes also, right? So what I have made is, it will be a combination of some highlights as well as some significant changes and the possible impact. That is how I have prepared my presentation for today. And the first one is, more importantly, wages, right? So for the term wages alone, I have brought in the definition here, I think, which you can see in your screens. But the reason is, I would say, in my experience, if the wage structure in a company is proper, then I think 50 to 60% of the compliance is done under the labor laws, right? The confusion lies here only. For PF, yes, you require wages. For ESI, you require wages. For bonus, you require wages. For gratuity, you require wages. Even for making payment of OT, you require wages. So do I have a proper salary structure in my company? So only if I understand the definition for the term wages clearly, only then I can come up with a proper structure, right? So let us just go through what exactly the code says. Again, interestingly, the definition contains substantive part, it has inclusion part, it has exclusion part, It has provisos, it has explanation. All the parts, in fact, this has. Right. Substantive part, all remuneration by way of salaries, allowances, or otherwise. I think this is how the definition for the term wage currently under Payment of Wages Act, it starts. I think it is borrowed from there. And it is when it is expressed in terms of money or capable of being so expressed as per the terms of it. So simply, when we say on terms of employment, it is contract of employment. It is nothing but appointment order, right? So whatever is getting mentioned in the appointment order, that yes, you have to necessarily consider it as salary. Now, what is specifically included? Basic, DNS allowance, and retaining allowance, if any. When we say retaining allowance, it will be more applicable for seasonal establishments, because the companies, the seasonal establishments have to retain their workers or employees during a non-seasonal period also, right? But many of us, if we are not into seasonal, this may not be applicable. So we are just left with basic and DNS allowance, but it is specifically included. Now the exclusion portion, I think there are several classes, 11 classes, starting from A to K, right? And there I would like to draw your attention to the maybe the highlighted parts. Class A, Class C, Class G, right? Any bonus payable under any law. Bonus is payable on an annual basis and through by operation of some law. Currently, it is Payment of Bonus Act. I'm not sure why it is treated as part of remuneration, right? That is one. Then any contribution paid by the employer towards any pension fund or provident funds. Again, I am not very clear why it is getting included here, because this other it is mentioned in the exclusion part. That is fine, but for total remuneration, do I have to take these also into account? Right? We will discuss that, but I'll just explain that here. Then Class G, remuneration payable under any award or settlement. Award, I think, by tribunals or various other authorities. Similarly, settlement, it could happen between the management and workers, or it could be 12-3 settlements. But I'm not very sure what remuneration is mentioned, which is getting excluded as per this class. Right. So maybe in the long definition of this particular term, these are all the three areas which is, but which I'm not very sure how this will work when it gets implemented.